I'm Nicole. I am here to share with you 3 simple strategies to stop people pleasing and to set clear boundaries for high achieving women, and especially to do this at work. This is one of the key things I hear from a lot of people is like, how do you start setting clear boundaries? Well, the way you start setting clear boundaries is you actually have to stop people pleasing first. And then it's like, well, how do you stop people pleasing? And let me tell you, as a recovering people pleaser, like worried about what everyone else thinks and always doing everything at work just to make other people happy, from my boss to coworkers, or just really caring about what other people think. I have a lot of personal experience with this. So I wanted to share with you what it takes for us to start to do these things and to share with you the 3 simple steps. And so I'm going to actually share with you what those 3 simple steps are, and then I'm going to elaborate on them. So step 1 is get clear on what it is that you want. So step 1 that we'll be covering first is how to get clear on what it is that you want. Step 2 is to have a clear yes, you have to have a clear no. To have a clear yes, you need to have a clear no. The 3rd step is how to respond to requests. How to respond to requests at work. So I'm going to cover all 3 of these today. This is information that has made such a huge difference for me to be able to have clear boundaries and to not be in a people-pleasing mode all the time. So for step 1, how to get clear. One of the reasons people say yes to everything and get overburdened, and you have just a million things going on at work and you can't say no to any projects, and you find yourself working late in evenings and you're like, I can't even take it, it's like too chaotic, is because you're not actually really clear on what it is that you want. You're not clear on the parameters of your job. You're not clear on what the kind of projects you'll say yes to and the kind of projects you'll say no to. You're not clear on how much time you need during the day to do the things that help you reset, like going for a walk or going to yoga in the middle of the day or leaving work to get to a class in the evening to move your body. You're not clear about whether you're okay with emailing at night for work, or receiving texts from your boss late at night, or whatever it is, however that communication looks like. You're not clear on how much sleep you need to have every night. You see how this list goes on and on? So the first step is actually you have to get really clear. Like, you have to start to understand what it is that matters to you, what your parameters are, so that you can actually start to then set the boundaries. So the first thing you can do is do something one of my favorite and simplest exercises possible is you draw a circle. This is something from Suzanne Conrad of Lightyear Leadership, who's my teacher, my dear teacher. And you write everything inside the circle that it is that you want, and then you write everything that you don't want outside the circle. So outside the circle might include responding to emails after 7 p.m. You might put something like that. For me, it'd be like responding to emails after 5 p.m. I pretty much don't respond to emails after 5 p.m. It might be something around, I always need to have, an hour at lunch because I need to eat lunch and I need to move my body or do something else. I actually have every single day 12:30 to 2:30 blocked. Like, that time is for me to have lunch. That is time for me to go walk Coco. Sometimes it's a 2.5 hour break. So I do yoga, I have lunch, I walk the dog, I'm back at work by 2:30. You want to start to do these kinds of things because when you're really clear on what it is you need to have happen every day, you can also make adjustments. So sometimes I have evening clients, they just, for whatever reason, they need to meet at 5 or at 6. So then I build into my day that I know that I need to move my body in a class form every single day. So yoga happens at noon. If my evening clients switch to a daytime, which would be fine, then I would have yoga in the evening. Do you get what I'm saying? Are you, like, whatever I'm handing out, you're trying to pick this up, that you need to start to get clear on what it is that you need to have happen every day that really matters to you. So those are like really technical parts of what works for you in the workspace. But this also really includes what is it that you're up to in terms of your job. Like, you have a job description, most likely. You have things that you're supposed to do. Are you doing things outside of that job description? Which is fine if that's what you want to be doing. Say you're trying to go to the next level in your job and you need to actually start doing things outside your job description to start to get yourself to that next level. Amazing. Put that in there. But you have to really start to check and see, is like, do I have the time for this? Are you really wanting to do these things? And then being okay and understanding how it might be affecting your time or your execution of your job. And none of this is right or wrong. This is all simply for you to start to understand what it is that it would take for you to have what it is that you want in your job. Or are you only taking on those extra projects because you don't want to disappoint somebody? That is a totally different scenario. So this is what I mean, that is really important for you to get clear. Having the things inside the circle that you really want in your job. And then all the things outside that aren't working for you or you don't want or really you're struggling with, you have to really have all of those pieces set. That's step one. Step two, to support high achieving women to stop people pleasing and to set clear boundaries, is to have the way to have a clear yes is to have a clear no. If you don't have a clear no, you do not have a clear yes. If you say yes to everything, that's actually not a clear yes. That's just saying yes to everything. The more you can get really firm on your no, the more your yes will actually have meaning and impact. Like if you start to say no to things, like if you even, like we could take this out to your friend group and your social group. If you say no sometimes to going out with friends because you're like, well, I'm tired, I just don't really want to. The next time you say yes, the person who wants to hang out with you is going to be even more excited. Right? Do you see how this happens? Like the more you start to say no, the more your yes has meaning. And this applies to work. When you're dealing with projects or you're working on something or you're in communication, you're saying you're going to all these meetings. Like, are you going to all the meetings even though they're actually not meetings that are really useful? So can you start to say no to the meetings that you're like, well, I really don't have time for this because I'm prioritizing this other project? Then your yes is going to have meaning. So you want to start to learn to say no clearly and concisely to people in general in your life. And if this feels like too big a practice at work, start to practice it in your personal life. Start to practice it with other people. Like, how do you learn to start to say no? And you can say no with kindness. You can say no with love in your heart and say, I love you, and no. Right? How do you start to say a no that's like effective and that's really clear? So that's the second thing, is like if you need to have a clear no in order to have a powerful yes. The third simple strategy to stop people pleasing and to set boundaries is to learn how to respond to requests. And this is really important because at work, we're constantly inundated with requests. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? And how can you start to actually navigate those requests? By changing time frames. Say somebody wants something by tomorrow and you're just really clear that you don't have the space and time for that. And you say, hey, that's fine, but can I get that to you in 3 days? And then they're like, oh, sure, that's fine. Right? Sometimes they may not be fine with that, and then you would go back and forth on that time request. The other way to think about it also is to change the nature of the request. If someone is asking you to do something that's outside the parameters of your work, you might actually respond to that request and say, hey, actually, that's outside the parameters of what I do. Is there someone else who might be able to help you with that? How do you start to change and shift and adjust to what it is that people are asking and not make it anything other than a simple request? Like, it's not around you, the person, or any of those other things, that they're just asking you if you can do something. And that you also have the freedom to say, oh, can we do it slightly differently than that? Right? So how can you start to learn to respond to requests? And part of this comes from what? Step one. Are you guys getting this? Like, are you picking this up? It's like what you said in step one is you're really clear on what it is you're available for. If someone's asking you for something outside of what you're available for, then you can start to have a conversation with them and share with them and say, hey, that's actually really outside the parameters of what I'm doing right now. Can we have a conversation around that? How can you start to respond in a really clear and concise way to people so that they actually really understand what it is you do every day at work, what your priorities are? Once they know what your priorities are, they might actually have another person who can help them with whatever their request is, right? And if not, then you can also move with them back and forth in this little dance around timing and say, hey, I'm happy to help you, and I can't help you till later this week. I often go, that's what I do all the time. If it's something I want to help people with, I move it out into a time frame where I actually feel like I can respond to them in a powerful way that works for them and for me. So those are the 3 simple strategies for high achieving women to stop people pleasing and set clear boundaries. Comment below if you have any questions or if you can actually start to implement some of these for yourself in your workplace. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening, and have a beautiful day.